Thank you. Good afternoon. I call this meeting of the panel of the North Carolina State Board of Education's Education, Innovation, and Charter Schools Committee, EICS, to order. The purpose of today's meeting is to hear an appeal by Ridgeview Charter School from the March 11th, 2024 decision of the Charter Schools Review Board to not renew Ridgeview's charter. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. The time is 3:30. I am John Blackburn. I will serve as chair of the panel hearing today. The other panel members present to hear the appeal today are my state board colleagues, Ms. Jill Kamnitz and Mr. Wendell Hall. Ms. Kamnitz is joining us online. We also have Ms. Allison Schaefer with us, who is to my right. So she is the attorney for the State Board of Education. All three of us that I aforementioned are members of the State Board of Education and have been duly appointed by the chairman of the State Board of Education to this panel to hear this matter on behalf of the full State Board of Education, and we will make a recommendation to that body. I want to welcome those in attendance and those listening to the proceedings. Panel members, you are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this appeals panel. I want to ask each panel member if you're aware of any conflict that might disqualify you from hearing this matter, or aware of anything else that would keep you from fair and impartially deciding this appeal. Ms. Kamnitz, do you have any conflicts of interest in this matter?
No, I do not.
Can you be fair and impartial in this matter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, do you have any conflicts of interest in this matter?
No.
Can you be fair and impartial in this matter?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. And I do not have any conflicts of interest, and state for the record that I can be fair and impartial in this matter. Next, I would like to take a few minutes to share the procedure for the hearing today. Each side will be given up to 30 minutes to present its case and may reserve up to 5 minutes of that time for rebuttal following the main presentation. The panel members may ask questions of the parties either during or after the presentation. At the conclusion of the presentation, the panel will deliberate and vote on a recommended decision to be presented to the full State Board of Education at its April 4th, 2024 meeting this Thursday. At its April 4th, 2024 meeting, the State Board of Education will make a final decision on this matter. I would also like for other parties that are in attendance to introduce themselves.
You already introduced me.
Okay, so this is, and Rupin,
Fafaria, Director for the State Board of Education.
thank you, welcome. And then I'll call on the other folks. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite the Charter School Review Board to make its presentation as to the reasons for its decision that the subject of this appeal. So, and Allison is going to keep time, and I will call on, okay, thank you.
Good.
Yes, we're good,
All right.
thanks.
Good afternoon, this is Ashley DeCaro, Director of the North Carolina Office of Charter Schools, and I am presenting today on behalf of the North Carolina Charter Schools Review Board in defense of its unanimous decision on March 11th, 2024 to non-renew Ridgeview Charter Schools Charter, which is set to expire June 30th, 2024. Ridgeview Charter School is a charter school operating in Gaston County and currently serving grades K to 8 with an original charter agreement whose effective date was July 1st, 2019. The charter for Ridgeview contains several binding provisions, including a list of grounds for termination. The State Board may terminate this charter on any of the following grounds: failure to meet the requirements for student performance, failure to meet generally accepted standards of fiscal management, violation of law, material violation of any of the conditions, standards, or procedures set forth in the charter, 2/3 of the faculty or instructional support request, or other good cause warranting non-renewal or termination. The Ridgeview Charter Agreement is due to expire June 30th, 2024. North Carolina General Statute requires that the North Carolina Charter Schools Review Board review the operations, including meeting academic, financial, and governance standards of each charter school prior to the expiration of its charter, and to renew the charter up to a period of 10 years or to not renew. This requirement is described in section 115C-218.6 of Article 14A of the Charter Schools Act. The renewal process for each charter school takes place over a period of 2 years and begins with the submission of a letter of intent to renew and a self-study submitted on behalf of the school. This requirement is outlined in North Carolina Administrative Code Title 16, Chapter 6, Subchapter G 0507, otherwise known as the Charter Schools Renewal Process. Ridgeview submitted its letter of intent on August 10th, 2022, thereby initiating the renewal process. The charter school submitted its self-study on November 29th, 2022. A renewal visit from the Office of Charter Schools took place at the school on March 30th, 2023. Consultants Jenna Cook and Nikki Nowinski attended on behalf of the Office of Charter Schools, and the renewal visit consisted of a tour of the school, brief classroom observations, and multiple interview groups including staff, board members, administration, and parents. The renewal interview with board and administration was attended by only 2 board members, and both attended virtually. The renewal visit feedback from OCS included, but was not limited to, the following notes: that the board adopt and implement a formal evaluation tool or process for the school's administrator, that the board onboard new board members to come in compliance with bylaws. The bylaws required a minimum of 5 board members, and at the time of the site visit, it appeared there were only 2 members, as the listed board chair had resigned. Ensure that the board is following Robert's Rules of Order during all board meetings, and specifically ensure that only members of the board are voting and making motions. School administration are not part of the board and should not be voting or making motions. More feedback included updating the new board chair's information on EDI, which is the authoritative source used by contacts in the Department of Public Instruction, to become in compliance with open meeting laws, including updating the website with board meeting minutes and updating the website with the location of the board meetings. And then finally, the board was encouraged to follow through with the planned summer board training and undergo yearly training to ensure it is up to date with governance best practices. This renewal feedback was submitted to the school following the March 2023 visit. As a follow-up to the site visit on June 28th, 2023, OCS staff member Jenna Cook emailed Ms. Michelle Williams, who is the head of school, and Ms. Colleen Samuels, the board chair, to inquire about the board's membership and adherence to the board's bylaws to have a minimum of 5 members. Ms. Williams replied on June 28th that the board had onboarded 3 members. Ms. Cook replied to ask for board meeting minutes to verify that these had been voted and approved by the board. On August 15th, Ms. Cook followed up for a request for these meeting minutes as they had not been provided and the school's website had not been updated. She set a deadline of August 18th. On August 21st, 2023, Ms. Cook followed up for a 3rd time because the school had not provided the minutes to verify the board membership. The head of school replied with board meeting minutes from June 2023 that showed a record of voting on 3 new board members. All requests from Jenna Cook were sent to both the board chair and the school leader. The board chair never responded to any of the communications. Following the renewal self-study and the site visit and interviews, OCF staff began the process of compiling data to present to the Charter Schools Review Board during the annual review of the charter school for its renewal term. On October 6th, 2023, Ridgeview Charter Academy was invited to report on the school's status academically, financially, and operationally at the regularly scheduled November meeting of the Charter Schools Review Board. This presentation is required of all renewal schools which do not qualify statutorily for a 10-year renewal. Within the invitation to present at the November meeting, it was requested that the Board of Directors and administration attend. Additional guidance given on the presentation also stated the school leader and board chair should conduct the presentation. It is recommended that the majority of the board present. Additional staff may also attend. On October 25th, 2023, Ms. Williams inquired with Ms. Cook about how board members could join through Zoom. Ms. Cook replied to Ms. Williams with a link to join virtually, but again reiterated in writing, it is highly recommended that the board and school leadership attend in person. On October 31st, 2023, Jenna Cook notified Ridgeview Charter School via email that based on academic data, the renewal guidelines place Ridgeview at a non-renewal. The school was encouraged to bring any evidence to support the school that they saw fit at the renewal interview taking place in November. At the November 6th, 2023 regularly scheduled review board meeting, Ridgeview presented on the school's status academically, financially, and operationally. The head of school was present at the meeting to give the presentation, and one board member, Ms. Samuels, attended the meeting virtually, with additional staff also attending. At this board meeting, at which the schools are invited to advocate on behalf of their schools of renewal, no board member attended in person to OCS or the review board's knowledge, and if one did, no one spoke on behalf of the school. Jenna Cook presented the school's academic history on behalf of the Office of Charter Schools. The academic history of Ridgeview Charter School includes the following data. The 2022 and 23 school performance grades are both Fs. The 2022 and 2023 academic growth scores are both not meeting. The school is continually low performing. The 2022 grade level proficiency, which is the average number, which is the percent of students that pass the end of course or end of, EOG end of grade exams, was 13.2%. The 2023 grade level proficiency was 13.8%. Academic comparability is part of the renewal standards and guidelines that are used in making recommendations and is determined by looking at the charter's grade level percentage, which is the percent of students level 3 or above on the EOG exams, compared to the district's grade level proficiency. And in this case, it's Gaston County. The 2022 academic comparability is negative 35.2%, meaning that the school scores 35.2% below the district school. And the 2023 academic comparability to the LEA is negative 36.4. Ms. Cook presented the school's compliance history. She stated that OCS was not aware of any issues. Ridgeview's head of school presented the school's presentation, and the review board had a chance to ask questions of the school and the board. Only the head of school spoke during the presentation and during questions. On December 8th, 2023, Ms. Williams emailed the Charter Schools Review Board a strategy for academic turnaround. On January 23rd, 2024, Ridgeview was invited to present to the Charter Schools Review Board their plans for academic status and improvement at the February 2024 meeting of the Review Board. In this communication, Ms. Cook also stressed the importance of both the school leader and the board being present at the meeting, as the board holds the charter for the school and is ultimately responsible for the upholding of the goals and mission stated in its original charter application. On January 25th, 2024, Ms. Williams sent an academic growth plan to be presented to the review board at the February meeting, along with attachments such as a teacher survey regarding curriculum, end-of-year parent survey, and the school's bell schedule. All of these materials were presented to the charter review board. At the February 5th, 2024 regular meeting of the review board, Ms. Williams, the head of school, and Ms. Samuels, the board chair, were present in person. Ms. Williams presented the school's academic improvement plan, and the review board was given time for questions. Dr. Sanders, a school administrator, read a parent letter, and Ms. Samuels also spoke to the school's academic plan. Mr. Friend, review board chair, asked more about the board members and who all was present and online. He asked if anyone was present or online, and Ms. Williams replied no. He additionally asked when they last met the board, when the last time the board met, and he and Dr. Eldridge, the review board vice chair, noted that the minutes weren't online since August of 2023. Mr. Friend said that he was disappointed that only one board member was present, considering the school is at risk of closure. Ms. Williams said she was told the other board members would be there, and Ms. Samuels responded saying they all came individually and she assumed they were on their way, but she wasn't sure where the others were. On March 11th, 2024, the review board reviewed all materials and open discussion on the renewal term and voting that would take place later in the meeting. Specifically, in the March 11th meeting minutes, Mr. Friend noted that he was told that he reached out to board members of Ridgeview Charter School following the February meeting to inquire about their attendance. He shared that he had heard back from one of them, who shared he had no intention of being at the review board meeting that day, and he had not heard back from the other 3 Ridgeview board members. Mr. Friend also shared that Ridgeview provided board minutes from 2023, which the review board did not have access to at the February meeting, but that those minutes raised concerns for Mr. Friend. He said there seemed to be a lot of duplication from month to month. There was only one month where they did a thorough financial review of balances Additionally, he noted that for a school that is so far behind the local LEA academically and an F school, there was no indication in the minutes of any discussions related to academics or strategies to improve academics. There was 1 month where a Saturday program was briefly discussed. He stated he had real concern about the level of board oversight and board involvement. Following the discussion among the board members at the March 11, 2024 meeting, the Charter Schools Review Board found that Ridgeview Charter School did not meet the academic, financial, and governance standards required for charter renewal. Specifically, the decision for non-renewal was based on the following. The school had failed to meet the requirements for student performance contained in the school's charter. The school was continually low-performing and had been a low-performing school for all of its years of operation, and in addition had not met growth in any year since opening in 2019. The board also noted that the academic performance of the school is greater than 5 percentage points lower than that of the Gaston County schools, the public school district in which the charter school is located. And they also identified other good cause, including that the school's governing board had demonstrated a lack of appropriate governing oversight. The deficiencies include, but not limited to, the failure of the majority of the governing board members to attend and participate in renewal year activities, and the failure of the governing board to ensure appropriate oversight of the school's financial status or academic performance, as evidenced in the board meeting minutes. The review board's decision to non-renew is consistent with statute, which states that the state board may renew the charter for a period of less than 10 years or not renew the charter if a charter does not meet the criteria for a 10-year renewal term. The decision is also consistent with statute, which allows the state board to terminate, not renew, or seek applicants to assume a charter if any of the following apply. Failure to meet student performance requirements, to meet generally accepted standards of fiscal management, violations of law, material violations of the charter, or other good cause identified. And if a charter is continually low performing, the state board is authorized to terminate, not renew, or seek applicants to assume the charter. The charter is set to expire June 30th, 2024, which would allow the students opportunity to complete the school year as well as all end of grade state testing. An upholding of the Charter Review Board's decision to non-renew would allow the Office of Charter Schools and TPI staff to begin the closure process in a timely manner while providing supports to staff and students to ensure proper record transitions to new schools. That's all on behalf of the Charter Schools Review Board, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Friend, I think you're online. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Good afternoon. Yeah, this is Bruce Friend. I'm the chair of the Charter School Review Board. Thanks for allowing me to participate remotely today. I'll just reiterate what Ms. Bacar shared in terms of the timelines and the lack of communication that we've received from all board members throughout this process. And I can verify that everything that Ms. Bacar just presented is indeed accurate. It's probably worth noting that at our March meeting, the decision to provide non-renewal vote was unanimous. It was a 10-0 vote. Again, as outlined by Ms. Baccaro, it has to deal with a multitude of factors, certainly the consistent or academic performance of the school, but also tied to the from our perspective, the lack of involvement, or at least we can tell the involvement of board members, since throughout this entire process, we've only actually ever interacted with one specific board member. As a reminder, the state board, it approves a charter school, CSRB approves a charter school. The charter is given to the board. They have the governance and fiduciary responsibility for the nonprofit organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Friend. Do either of my fellow board members have any questions of Ms. Baccaro or Mr. Friend at this time?
I do not.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify. Did Mr. Friend say that it was not unanimous?
No, it was unanimous.
It was unanimous. It was a little gobble in there.
That's correct, right, Ms. Baccaro?
Correct, unanimous, it was 10-0.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and you'll have some time if you need at the end.
Ms. Baccaro has 15 minutes left.
Thank you, Ms. Baccaro. At this time, I'd now like to invite the Ridgeview Charter to make its presentation as to why it believes the Charter Review Board's decision to not renew was in error. So I'd ask you to come up, and if you would like to introduce your fellow folks that you brought with you, that would be great too.
Board members, teachers, parents.
Welcome.
We also have families on Zoom.
If you could give us their names and titles, that would be great. Thanks.
Good afternoon, I'm Rochelle Williams, the principal of Ridgeview Charter School.
Colleen Samuels, I am the board chair of Ridgeview Charter School.
Excuse me, Mikhail Brown, I'm the treasurer.
Mercedes Boyer, I'm a board member.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all coming, and so you can make your presentation now.
Could I make a request that people do their best to speak directly into the mic, because that was I had a hard time catching some of the names. Perhaps somebody could review that.
Yes.
So my name is Colleen Samuels, and I am the
That's much better.
board chair of Ridgeview Charter School.
I'm Mikhail Brown, the board treasurer.
Mercedes Boyer, I'm a board member.
And again, Rochelle Williams, I'm the principal, founder of Ridgeview Charter School. Good afternoon. On behalf of the parents, the students, board members, and all of us, we thank you for allowing us to appeal to the state board today. The purpose of our presentation today is to lay out a strategic plan to the state board that will address the areas of concern that have adversely affected the students' achievement over the past 4 years. We have developed a careful, individualized plan for Ridgeview to present to the state board to address the obstacles hindering student success over these past 4 years. The plan we present today will effectively tackle the issues at hand and pave the way for a more promising future for our students. This plan is thorough with benchmarkings for goals that will allow us to monitor, adjust, and revise as needed over 3 years. I would like to mention that this plan was devised with the help of a consulting group of practicing practitioners with a proven track record of collectively and individually turning around districts and schools. Who are we? Ridgeview is a K-8 school located in the heart of what was the desired neighborhood for affluent minorities. Decades ago, this area boasted thriving businesses and respectable homes. Fast forward to today, our neighborhood is considered economically disadvantaged, with many homes boarded up and considered uninhabitable. Why did we put our school there? My late husband and I both founded this school, and he worked for one of the larger employers in Gastonia. And as we talked about opening a charter school, I happen to have had over 10 years of charter school experience from previous states. And as we talked about opening a school here, his colleagues often asked us to consider Gastonia because at the time there was only one charter school and they felt that they needed more. What clinched it for us was my husband's position was to turn around a large manufacturing company there. And he was challenged by many of the employees there, only to discover that many of them were illiterate. That included staff from 20 to in their 60s. Many of them could not read and would not be able to adapt to the ever-changing manufacturing environment, which required them to read and apply that to what they had to complete on their work site and to read blueprints. And so as a result, we decided we wanted to give back to this community and present to them students who could not only work in manufacturing companies, but bring other skills to the community. Today, our demographics have changed just a little bit over the past 4.5 years. We started off with over 96% of our students being African American, with the remaining 4% being Latino or two or others, and less than 1% being white. This year, we have 72% African American, 17.5% Latino, which has increased our ESL numbers. We have 8.6% identifying as two or more, and 2.1% white. In our finished state, which we are not at this point, we would like to be a haven for learning, where students unlock their hidden talents, they enjoy learning, the quest for knowledge, and they have access to many programs like STEM, literature, arts, and foreign language, all of which we are supplying to them at this current rate. My personal goal is for the school to be at the top 10% of the K-8 schools in the North Carolina system. The question is, how do we get there? When we look at our current status under achievement, even though we have received limited amounts of state data due to COVID-19, I want to reiterate that we have only been open 4 years, not 5. And according to the state rules of their own, they're supposed to look at 3 years of data. We've only had 2. We've tested in 22 and 23. And when we saw the low scores that came spring of 23, we immediately began making changes for the 23-24 school year. Our academic plan is not a result of the non-renewal. It is a result of the low scores we saw consecutively in 2023. This year, we added a new math curriculum, a new reading curriculum, and we replaced the iStation map with the NWEA so we could get a better predictive score of student achievement in the spring. With regard to personnel, we have revamped our mentoring and coaching plan that will take place in the fall of 24-25 for any new teachers we hire. We also have a revamped PIP program for teachers who require extra assistance, and goals for all staff for the fall. We recognize more intensive support is needed for not just our teachers, but our leadership team as well. Refining instructional practices and instructional leadership are our top priorities that will increase student learning outcomes for our children at Ridgeview. With regard to board governance, our board chair would like to speak about our current status, but I would like for you to refer to Exhibit 1, which is our state audits, and a letter from our auditor who clearly states that we have never had any findings with any of our finances.
Good afternoon. When Principal Williams walked into my church and said she had this dream, she had this goal in mind for a section of our community that would not otherwise have it, I was immediately hooked. I firmly believe that education is the key to our students achieving and being an integral part of our ever-changing society. That being said, we are here to address the issues with board governance that the state charter board has identified. We have here 3 members. We are a volunteer board. We have 2 members who are not here. And those board members have obligations that were unavoidable for today. We have one who's a firefighter, just started a new job in Mecklenburg County, could not be here today. This is something that the state charter board did not quite understand, that it is difficult to A, recruit board members for a volunteer board, and B, to get board members who are able to pivot and to show up when we need to be. That being said, we have monthly board meetings, and we have very high percentage at our board meetings. Our board meetings we have a quorum every time. We have all of our board members available every time, whether we meet in person or online. Our board members are present. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to fall on the sword right here, right now. We are guilty of terrible record keeping. We changed our internet provider, our web person, in the middle of a period of time where we were making a lot of changes. We did not update our website. We did not put our meeting minutes. We had one training let me back up a little bit. We came, the board changed officially from I am an original founding board member. I was here when the charter was issued. In March, or February, I believe, of 2023, two of our board members resigned. It was unexpected. We had to scramble to recruit new board members, and as I said, we're a volunteer board. So it made it somewhat difficult to do that and to get back into compliance. In June of 2023, we had one board training. We've been looking around since that time for sustained board training. We will openly admit that we are not fluent in Robert's rules, and we need to come to that. We definitely need to come to that. But that is fixable, in my opinion. It's fixable. It's something that we can be taught. I have never sat on a nonprofit board before, so I am learning as we go along. As with regards to not responding, there was always a response, maybe not from myself, but from the board, the school head. There was always a response to any inquiry from the Charter Review Board. We have been, from the very beginning, very fiscally aware. One of the issues, the main issue, in my opinion, is that we have no compliance issues. There's a reason for that. I'm an attorney. I can't afford to be on a board where there is fiscal mismanagement. I simply cannot afford that and won't abide it. I have to make sure that we watch our finances, make sure that we are where we need to be. So let's start again. Let's start from the beginning. We opened in fall of 2019. On the first day of school, Principal Williams and I were running around in our cars picking up students to get them to school, because that's the population we serve. They did not have transportation to get to our location. Our students are different. While everyone says, well, you know, everybody was struggling with COVID issues, retention of teachers, getting students to pivot and become familiar with online learning, we had a particular, very special population. Our school, in the initial stages and today, we have a very transient population. We have a population of students who are a year or two behind. These are the students that were not successful in the state system. So we ended up being the shining light for them, a chance for their students to have a better level of patience, which we are known for. Ridgeview has been, from the beginning, very understanding of our population. So now we're at March of 2020. We had one drop from the state. So financially, we were coming out of pocket to provide supplies for our school, to pay for our school internet, to provide Chromebooks for our students, and teaching our parents how to use them so that they could become literate enough to provide instruction for the students. We had trouble, like everybody else, retaining staff. We partnered with a consulting company. They came in and they provided us with finances. And they also provided one other critical thing. I'll give them what they're due. They provided us with guidance to make sure that we were compliant with all the requirements of the charter board. State and federal funds were keenly overlooked. We, as I said, our issue really is with recording what we've done. But as a board, I'm here next to our treasurer. I'm here to tell you that we have been watching every single dollar that came into Ridgeview and making the appropriate changes as things were brought to our attention. Now, so we're at March of 2020. We now have a new consulting firm on board that is helping us to do our governance and making sure that we are fiscally sound. One of the things that came with them was, of course, an infusion of cash, because we did not have that. We had to keep our doors open. That was our priority, keeping our doors open. We had students that were coming in and out, as everyone knows. Once COVID hit, the population shifted. Folks left, they came back, they left again. We have right now, today as we speak, we have 35 students who are leaving. Why are they leaving? Their parents are relocating. This is the population that we serve. We come in with students who are a year or two behind, mainly because we have educational issues, we have behavioral issues, and we have people who are simply moving. They shift. And because of that, their children's education suffer. During the school year, I would say 2021 to 2022, we had a conversation at one of our meetings where Principal Williams pointed out that the iStation assessment tool was not giving us what we needed for our students. The pre-testing, I'm sorry, there's a timer on, I apologize. The pre-testing was not, the end of year grades were not measuring up to the pre-testing. We talked about it and decided to make some changes to the curriculum. We started by switching out iStation, as she mentioned, for NWEA. We also looked at getting in consultants who would begin to train our teachers. We have a crop of young teachers, some of whom are just becoming licensed, some of whom have never really had a lot of experience in teaching. So we're training our teachers. We went in 2023 to 2023 school year, Teach Like a Champion, sponsored 5 of our teachers to go and learn better teaching techniques. We decided as a board that we would bring in Teach as a Champion, Teach Like a Champion, to be with us all the time, at least until we are able to show growth and improvement as we would like. So that is part of our improvement, to make sure that we have our teachers properly trained. The consultants that we had in the year 2021 and to 2022, 2022 and 2023, we ended up having to part ways with those consultants. For the 2 years that they were on board, we rarely saw them. They did not do what we expected them to do. They did not do what we were promised. As a result, in the summer of 2023, the board voted again to change the consulting firm that we were working with altogether and bring in a completely new firm, which we have done. So this is our first year working with the new firm, and so far we're quite pleased with them. That being said, we've severed the consulting on education from the consulting on finances. So now we have an academic plan that is separate and apart from our finances and the management of our finances. While we have been, I'll say again, guilty of poor record keeping, this is not a board that's been asleep at the wheel. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have had financial issues that the state charter board could point to and say, well, who's minding the store? We're minding the store. We may not be writing everything down, and we will certainly turn that around. But we have not been asleep at the wheel. We are poised right now, after 3 years of solid building. This is our 4th year. We're not even complete with our 4th year yet, right? So we're working on our, 5th year. We are working, we've gotten to the point where we have put the building blocks in place to take off, to focus on academics. We realize that we're working with a population that comes in 1 to 2 years behind. They are the lowest performing students of our community. They are coming to us because we present something different. We have in our audience Ms. Wells, who is our social and emotional learning teacher. We had to implement that. because our students needed to be cared for before they could learn. That's the population that we have. We have students that are coming in with multiple problems that we have to assure them will resolve itself so they can focus on learning. We had a therapist. We have people who are working with our students to bring them to where they need to be. I'm going to stop here because I think I've given you the picture. We are doing what we need to do. We have the building blocks. We have our academic curriculum. We're ready to go. We just need time. That's all we're asking for. Now, the charter board says, well, they can take our charter if we don't measure up. And we are not contesting that. We're definitely not contesting that. What we're saying is give us time. Put us on probation, if you will. Give us 3 years to turn this around. If at the end of those 3 years we can't do it, take it. Take our charter. At that point, we will have deserved it. But at this point, it's not fair to us. It's not fair to our kids. It's not fair to our students who are happy with what we're doing. Even though they may not be academically where they need to be, they are poised to begin to get there. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to address you.
Okay, I'd like to point your attention to Exhibit 2, which is our academic plan for improvement. With the time that I have left, I'm going to rush through this a little bit. But this academic plan shows you our 3-year plan to improve the 7 core goals that we've identified. And at the end of that plan on the last column, it shows methods of measuring progress. The first year we call our assessment of reality, where we will overview those 7 goals that have been identified. We will evaluate those 7 years that have been identified. And with the use of research-based tools, we'll create timelines for every action step. Year 2 is revising and refining the work from year 1 and build upon the key objectives that are listed under the goals by going deeper into the specific needs of each goal and identifying the next action step. Year 3 is full implementation with the expectation that all stakeholders are fully implementing those action steps that need to take place in order for us to reach our goal. This will occur with continual reflection and minor adjustments that will happen along the way. I'd also like to point out that our consultants will be working with us hand in hand to implement this plan, which we devised with them. They will monitor with us, and as the years progress, their position will diminish and ours will increase. And at the end of the 3 years, we will not toss aside this living document. We will instead look at it again and create another 3-year plan where we can further develop our programs beyond just getting our children up to speed. And that would be Exhibit 2. Under our next steps, this is the most essential part of our presentation. I already did that part, sorry. We wanted someone to come in and examine everything that we have been doing that impacts student achievement. So we asked our consultants to conduct a master schedule audit to maximize our instructional time. We will make those adjustments, and we're reviewing our course settings, our course offerings. Additionally, we are analyzing the benefits of potentially departmentalizing. We realize that the assessments that come with our programs may not be rigorous enough, so we're purchasing a benchmark assessment system to help us ensure our assessments are aligned with North Carolina assessments, which will be instrumental in making data-informed decisions. On the next slide, when student learning is negatively impacted, it's necessary to evaluate all personnel involved, including leadership, to determine the level of support being provided and whether personnel changes are necessary. As a result, we have decided to make some leadership changes, including my stepping down as principal and assuming a new role. Our plan moving forward includes the following actions. We are actively seeking a new principal with expertise in turning around struggling schools. We have a new performance improvement plan for teachers. We will hire a new instructional coach for the 24-25 school year. And we have added 2 interventionist positions for math and ELA. In addition to the statements our president made with regard to the board, I would like you to refer to Exhibit 3, which is a scorecard that our board will use in our meetings in the future. We will have 4 times during the year where we will facilitate effective and consistent communication by driving the focus around the key requirements with regular reviews to ensure organizational alignment. And if you look at Exhibit 3 for your reference, this was submitted previously to the board. We do recognize the importance of board training, and our board is going to attend the COSBA training that will take place in 2025. We also have a data calendar to ensure that every board meeting includes updates on student achievement, whether it is assessments, educational software, ADA, and that is Exhibit 4 in your packet as well. And if you refer to Exhibit 4, you will notice that we have 4 years planned out with trainings for the board to be completely aware of what is going on from every level. What are our expected outcomes? Improving student outcomes is a major focus area for our administrative team and board. To achieve this goal, our teachers and administrators will be working with consultants who specialize in school turnarounds this summer. Together, we will unpack our standards, develop learning targets, and determine the proper scope, sequence, and pacing of our curriculum. Our consultants will also help us make decisions and adjustments based on our state assessment and the NWA. We will have ongoing coaching and check-ins with our new teachers and teachers who are on improvement plans. To ensure data-driven instruction, we'll be implementing professional learning communities. Additionally, ongoing coaching and training will be provided for our teachers, administrators, and board based on the needs of our balanced scorecard and the 3-year curriculum plan. Every minute of the day will be used to maximize instructional opportunities. High levels of accountability and expectations will be upheld and monitored for everyone. And the board will increase their governance. My final appeal to you all is when I think about Ridgeview and where we are today, I think of things like COVID, the deficiencies that most of our students have coming to us. We have some of them that are coming out of the alternative school systems as well, who are dealing with poverty and homelessness. And Ridgeview is a change agent in the lives of these students. We focus on the whole child. We have used the past 4 years to build our resources to give them what they need to build that foundation for our academic program. We have been alert and diligent about addressing their academic shortfalls, and we just need the time to do so. I'd like to close with a quote from Mr. Victor Hugo, who is a French writer and politician. And the quote says, "He who closes a school door opens a prison." And in Gastonia, there is definitely a pipeline from high school to prison that we are working against. So we are passionate about this community. We're passionate about this work that we're doing. We simply need the time. 2 data points is not enough to determine if we're an effective school or not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would ask my fellow board members if they have any questions. I do. How many students do you have? How many students do you have?
We opened up with 308 today because of students, as our board chair stated. We have some that are moving out of state. Our ADM has gone down 35 students over the year.
So how many of your students qualify for a free and reduced lunch?
98%.
98%. Do you have lunch on campus? Do you provide breakfast and lunch?
We provide breakfast and lunch free to all students. We are in a community that is considered economically disadvantaged.
Right. So do you have, where is the school? Is it in a church, or do you have a freestanding building? Or?
We have a freestanding building that is owned by a church. It is their community center, which was originally built as a private school. So we actually do have classrooms, gymnasium, and a place to prepare food.
And I just want to add, one of the things things that we focused on.
Could you come to the microphone so Ms. Camden can hear you? We're interested in what you're saying. So.
It was very interesting, your question, because we have to satisfy our students' basic needs. And we did things like overhauling the kitchen to make sure that our students were comfortable, that when they came in the morning, they were welcomed. And they had food, hot food, to make sure that they were able to learn. We had to build from the ground up. And that's what we're trying to impress upon everyone. This is not a school that came in established. It's a brand new school. We didn't even have systems in place when COVID hit. Now we have our systems in place. We have our basic needs covered. So now we're poised to take off academically because our students have what they need on the basic level.
I have a lot of questions, so sorry, but I want to learn.
Oh, yes, sir.
How many teachers do you have?
We have 16 general ed teachers, 3 special area teachers, 1 EC teacher, so about 20 teachers.
How many of those are beginning teachers?
We don't have any, we have 0 that are beginning teachers.
Has that been a struggle to find teachers?
It has been. Where we're located is not the most desirable area of Gastonia. So I always require candidates to come to the building so that they know exactly where we're located, so that they can decide if that's where they want to be. And not all candidates choose to come there. So it has been an issue.
We have maybe 4 teachers here. We have our kindergarten teacher, middle school teacher. We have our 5th grade teacher. There we go.
Oh,
everybody's hand is up
we've
in the
had
back.
and social emotional.
So we have our teachers. They are behind us.
And how many of those are certified? Are you still working on certification for those? Oh, okay. Thank you.
How many?
Well,
How many?
4 of the 5.
They're here, but how many of us?
How many in the school are certified?
How many are certified? In the school.
You can give us the answer to that later if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mr. Hall, do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, because you've already covered a lot of mine about enrollment and the teaching staff, but you did mention that you were looking at adding, if I remember correctly, at least 3 new positions.
Yes,
And then you're gonna carry a fund balance of 15%.
that's correct. We have,
Well,
go ahead.
Tim, how you got, help me with that math there.
Mhm.
To carry a fund
We're,
balance.
we're in a very good position financially.
Oh,
We have a fund balance.
Here's our treasurer.
We're actually under budget by 214,000 so far this year. So, the funding piece of it, I do this for a living, and I volunteered, this is just gonna segue, I volunteered for this role because I know sometimes schools can take advantages of funding. I know that. But for me, because this is what I do on a day-to-day basis, my goal was to make sure that that didn't happen and to also make sure that the children receive the best with the funds that we have. If there's something, going back to COVID, well, we made sure everyone had a Chromebook because we had the funds to make sure that that happened. So from a financial perspective, that's one great thing that I'm happy to say about Ridgeview is that we're not in a bad financial position.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that info. Now, you mentioned that you moved I Station out,
Yes.
and you went to what now? I didn't catch that last thing.
NWEA is called the Northwest, I forget what E means, but it's an assessment tool.
This is, right.
Yes, to monitor student performance at grade level. And we take it 3 times a year. At the initiation is to get a baseline for that student. And it is a SMART test, where for every student who takes it, it adapts. So if a student is getting their answers correct, it becomes more difficult. If they're getting them wrong, it'll ease up until it finds where they're performing grade-wise. And we take a second one during the winter break or just before.
You got benchmarks.
Right.
Time benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the time frame we dealt with, I understand what
Okay.
you're saying there. I was just concerned about leaving our station and going to something that is an assessment too. But you also mentioned that you're going to do an audit, curriculum audit?
Yes, sir.
You call it instructional audit,
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
And we will do
Is
that.
that the same as a curriculum audit?
It is. It
Have you
is.
started that yet?
We have not.
Curriculum audit is a broad year approach.
Right.
And when you said that you were going to do it in order to drive instruction,
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
and you haven't started yet with it, am I correct? The audit,
We have not started with the audit yet. We are working with our new consultant group
okay.
to initiate that.
Now, I'm assuming it's the same thing as the curriculum audit. I could be wrong, but from reading your documents, I
You're
feel it
correct.
might be the same. And I understand about curriculum audits and the time frame of what it can do
Right.
to help guide development of, for lack of a better term, it's a teacher plan.
Exactly.
Put it together.
And the consultants are ready to begin this spring and work over the summer to make sure that everything is in play. So that is the agreement that we've made with them.
And I was interested about the SEL.
Yes.
You have one SEL teacher?
Yes, we do.
Are you, for the, what is it?
Social emotional learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not what I was, for the 300 plus students.
Yes.
And I know that's a handful, I can realize that with SEL, which is something I'm totally familiar with. We're all struggling with it
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that. But of course, you don't have a finance issue.
No,
It's
we do
different
not.
from some other entities who will have that. But that's a good approach if you ask me.
Right,
But I'm
it's,
concerned about that audit, your staffing when it comes to that, and this group that you say that you have hired. But didn't you make a loan for 180 or something? I remember reading. Was that yours? 180,000?
No, that is a different school.
That's a different school.
Yes.
I got a bunch of them on my plate, as you will.
We were able to secure a line of credit,
Yeah, right.
you know, because of our fiscal soundness, but we have not made a loan
Okay.
for that 180.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I would be very remiss if I didn't say how proud I am of you for not having any financial issues.
Thank you.
thank you.
That is very often one of the things that we see, is that there are financial issues. So you're to be commended for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Kamnitz, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do have a few. First, I'd like to follow up on something that Mr. Hall just asked in terms of the assessment tool. I presume from what you said that you probably have some beginning of year and middle of year data for this year from that tool. What kind of progress are you seeing there?
Well, in February, when I presented the academic plan, it predicted that 74% of our students would still not be proficient. With our last score, that went to 64%. So we have seen an overall building-wide decrease in the number of students who will not be proficient.
And that tool is aligned with the North Carolina Standard Course of Study?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that. A couple of other questions. I'd assume that we probably would have heard this if this was the case, but knowing where you were going to locate and just listening to you talk, was it part of the original charter to target educationally or economically disadvantaged students?
Yes, it was.
So that was your intention?
Yes.
So being aware of that and the problems that the students would bring, was there an original academic plan in that first year?
Yes, we created a schedule, a bell schedule that we felt would really maximize instructional time. And I have to say that very first year, I feel like students would have performed better. There was an excitement in the building to be there amongst staff and students. And the iStation was showing exceptional growth that first year. We did not take the ELG because of COVID.
Right.
And I really wanted to take it that year because I felt like we had done a lot of great work that year. Things just kind of fell apart after COVID. Students were missing. I had one student ask me if he could take Wednesdays off so that he could babysit his sister once we came back hybrid. You know, they were tasked with doing other things other than learning during that time.
Yes. So how would you get the new academic plan that you shared with us? What is the difference from what you were doing that first year to this new one?
Yeah. I'm very excited about the use of the ESSER funds we have left, which will allow us to, we have been talking with Teach Like a Champion to get into a multi-year agreement where they will come in and work with our teachers in a more robust manner instead of a one-time training. It will be a continual training with the staff. I believe that, beefing up the classroom management and just the instructional techniques of engaging students is one area. And then with our new consultants, they also are entering into an agreement where it's not a one-time deal. It's continual, monthly checking in with our staff to ensure that they understand the curriculum, that everything is being aligned. We are holding our teachers to a much tougher standard. I can say that I'm guilty as a school leader of not holding teachers to the highest standard because I've been working as superintendent and principal, trying to do both jobs, which is why we need to bring in a principal who can focus strictly on the teachers while I work on the compliance issues and everybody gets the amount of attention that they deserve. I've been carrying that load myself for the past 4 years, which is why we've maintained our fiscal solvency. We have not been heavy or top heavy. We've been very, very lean at the administrative level, and we need to make that more complicated to share the load of what needs to be done to improve our student performance. And I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I think that's all my questions for now.
A quick one, Mr. Chairman. What is your attendance rate on average day?
For students?
I'm sorry?
For students?
Yes.
What would you say?
You're using the 300 benchmark, and these things he had 380 or something. What's the average attendance rate for your KH population?
She would say 75 to 80%.
80%?
Mm-hmm. They come to school.
Do you chart that? I mean, you said you would say, but.
Well, this is my power school person right here.
Right.
So
I was looking at it.
I'll defer to her. But yes, yeah, they come to school. They feel safe there. We've created an environment of safety. I get all my hugs out during the day. I mean, they love being there. They have to start believing in themselves that they can do the work and perform at a level that's higher.
80% of the kids come on an average daily. Staff is there,
Staff is there.
and for the last 4 years, it's been a difficult time for them.
Well, like I stated, for the past 4 years, the first half of that was COVID. So, you know, these last 2 years, this year we could say our attendance is at 75, but at that very beginning, you had parents and children who had to be reminded, you know, we're back at school. Need to bring them in. We no longer have remote education. So we did have to remind students and parents to bring the children on into the building, and not at 9 o'clock, but at 8 o'clock. You know, we did have those, but it's gotten a lot better this year.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I promise you out there.
You may not know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How many of your students are from a single parent?
Oh,
Fairly significant.
90%, maybe? At least 90%. All our teachers are saying the same thing. They're in the classroom with these students every day, and they know which parents are coming to pick up their children and whether or not there's a second parent. And this is the population we serve. These students are from single-parent homes with very low resources.
Do you have any means of transportation, or so if you got buses that you?
yes, we have a vendor.
Okay.
So we do provide 3 full buses, and then we also have carpooling taking place. We have a van service that we use for our homeless families who require that.
Thank you.
And we got a bus.
Oh, and we did purchase an activity bus.
Yeah.
Because we started athletics last year, particularly for the middle school students. But again, transporting them all the way to Charlotte to compete with other charter schools was an issue. So this past fall, with some of our grant money, we were able to secure an activity bus to ensure that they could make it to those games. So that has helped a lot with morale with students feeling like they're competing with athletics as well.
Particularly with middle.
Definitely.
Middle grade kids, yes.
We've taken it down to 3rd grade just to make sure we have the numbers and the participation, but it helps.
Intramural sports is a part of education,
It is.
especially that level.
Okay. I think we
I have one more thing I'd like to follow up on if I could.
Sure, thanks, Jill.
Could you remind me again of the name of the consultant that's going to be the group that supports growth for your teachers?
Okay. I didn't name it because I didn't know if it was appropriate, but they're called LEAD, L-E-A-D. And this is a group of state superintendents and HR leaders and folks who have turned around. They were very instrumental in turning around the state of Mississippi. And they have created a consultant group. And we're one of their first clients. So we've been very excited with the work they've done so far with just working with us on this appeal process.
And that's the group that's going to be working with your teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
There was another group that you mentioned, Teach something?
Teach Like a
I'm sorry.
Champion.
Teach
Like a Champion.
Yeah, and what does that group do?
They teach classroom teaching techniques.
Okay.
Teaching
Thank you.
strategies for teachers.
Okay. I noticed in the academic plan that you referred to the need to recruit more experienced teachers. It sounds like that's going to be very difficult for a lot of reasons. Do you have any strategy there, or
Marketing.
how important is that a piece of what you're trying to do?
It's very important. The marketing, we've looked at sign-on bonuses. We're not nearly as competitive as the larger LEAs when it comes to that. But we're looking at using, again, we have some grant funds that I've spoken with James Pop on ways we can use some of our federal funds to entice more seasoned teachers as well.
All right, thank you.
Have you explored with looking at 501c3s in the Gastonia community to see if they would help you with some grants? So I know the Gaston Foundation is very active in your area, and so I can't help but think that this is something that you could explore for the future, is that you could ask foundations to help you with some of your needs moving forward.
Absolutely. We've been working with some of the housing nonprofits for our homeless parents, but we have not requested grants from them, but so we could definitely add that to.
How about where do your teachers live? Do your teachers have a hard time finding a place to live?
They do. They do. Those that live in the Charlotte area, typically try to get transportation funds added to their salary, which is not, something that I've ever done before in my tenure of running schools. So that commute does become an issue for some of my teachers. And I've lost many good staff who have gotten bonuses, sign-on bonuses at CMS to a school that is closer to their home.
I understand. Ashley, you still have, thank you for y'all's presentation.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Ashley, you have 15 minutes left if you'd like to make some comments. Or Bruce. Or Ashley.
I'm just going to clarify, touch on a few things in response to their presentation. The first is that regarding board oversight, the Charter Schools Review Board certainly understands the challenges of being a volunteer board. All charter boards are volunteer boards, and in fact, so is the Charter Schools Review Board. But the fact is that the charter agreement issues to a board who has the great responsibility for the complex and time-consuming responsibilities of running and operating a charter school. Regarding the financial and the audit history, the Charter Schools Review Board and the Office of Charter Schools is in agreement that the school has no evidence of any financial non-compliance issues or compliance issues, and in fact, in all of the presentations that the Office of Charter Schools gave to the Charter Schools Review Board, that was clearly stated and also written on all of our documentations and our presentations. But the reasons stated in the motion for the non-renewal by the Charter Schools Review Board on March 11th stated reasons related to the failure to meet requirements for student performance and for board oversight failures, including limited discussion or sharing of financial data. There was nothing related to financial noncompliance, so we just want to be clear that that was never presented in such a way, and that was also not a reason for the non-renewal. Regarding the academic performance, which was the primary reason for the non-renewal, the school had several opportunities to present both in person by appearing before the Charter Schools Review Board and via submission of documentation and other evidences to the board of their plans for school improvement, and based on the unanimous decision to non-renew, the Charter Schools Review Board did not find those school improvement plans would lead to significant progress. I would also like to note that many of the schools in this cohort for renewals have been impacted by COVID. In fact, 8 of the 17 schools that were up for renewal this year have only 2 years of data. So the Office of Charter Schools and the Department of Public Instruction in dealing with state accountability data is under the The circumstances of COVID are such that we only have 2 years of data, and 8 of the 17 schools were in those same exact circumstances. However, Ridgeview was the only school that did not meet growth any of the years. So the 7 other schools who also only had 2 years of data had at least 1 year of meeting growth. That was a big differentiation between those schools. And I'd also like to just reiterate the fact that based on the renewal guidelines, which the Charter Review Board has been using for this renewal process and which have been in state board policy for years, has a comparability of metric of 5 points difference. In this case, we're talking about a 35 and over a 35 and over a 36 point difference, which clearly leads the office to recommend a non-renewal based on not having any evidence of growth, and provides a legitimate reason for non-renewal based on academic student performance. And then finally, I would just direct you to board meeting minutes from March 11th, where Mr. Machado, one of the board members for the Charter Review Board, did state that he tries to show grace for schools that opened around the COVID time, but when looking at this data, he is unable to argue with the numbers. And he asked, are the students really better off at the school or their LEA? So the board did consider that and did address that, but looked, at the academic data that was presented and made their decision to non-renew based on that. Mr. Friend, is there anything else you'd like to add that I missed?
No, Ms. Picard, I think you covered that. I guess just on behalf of the Charter School Review Board, I do want to reiterate that we've never claimed that there was fiscal mismanagement. That was never a suggestion in any of our discussions at any time when school leadership was before us or even after they had left. What we did claim, and what I specifically mentioned, I think at the last board meeting, was that we're not claiming financial mismanagement. We just didn't have a good picture of what their financial situation is. As you go through the minutes of their own board meetings, there was only one board meeting, according to their minutes, in 2023, where they even provided what is pretty standard, well, not pretty standard, is standard in charter school board meetings, which is to provide a financial overview. What are your account balances? How are your investments doing? What's your spend versus your budget? There was only one evidence of that in 2023 board meeting minutes. As a matter of fact, I think three of the financial reports were simply statements of welcome to Ridgeview Academy. Everything else Ashley said is accurate. All boards for charter schools are indeed volunteer members, all 200 plus in the state. There has been, keep in mind again, at the time when the Charter School Review Board was voting in March as well, because of the lack of access to board minutes that were not publicly available, we only got this after their meeting in February. I would agree with the statement that there's just poor record keeping. You look at the minutes and you can't, what's listed as board members, often the attendees are not at all board members. They're members of the staff or invited guests of the community. So it is really hard to identify exactly who is on the board and who participated in the meetings. There was a reference that new board members were elected in June of 2023. The Charter School Review Board is not going to suggest that didn't happen, but there's nothing in the minutes that suggests that it did. If you look at the two meeting minutes from June, it just makes it very difficult to get a clear picture of what is transpiring when we rely on a lot of those board minutes that just didn't exist or were incomplete, or in many cases repetitive from one month to the other. But all of that being said, I did want to make sure that no one was suggesting that the Charter School Review Board thought or has made any claim of financial mismanagement. That was not at all part of the reasons given for the vote to non-renew. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Friend.
Mr. Blackburn, I have one more follow-up question
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Go ahead.
for Ashley and for Ms. Vaquero and Mr. Friend. I'm just curious, did the Charter School Review Board, because of the population that the school serves, was there any effort to look at the proficiency levels of economically disadvantaged students in Gaston County and make any comparison there?
Yes, actually, the board is provided with a data packet, which has been provided with these appeal materials, which includes the data on all of the subgroups for the school as well as the county. So there's a comparability there, and then as well as links to all of the state accountability data, which would have comparisons to Gaston County. And for example, in 22-23, the Gaston County economically disadvantaged proficiency was 40.2, where Ridgeview was 13.9.
Okay, thank you. I looked for that myself and couldn't figure out how to find it, so that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? At this time, I'm going to make a motion that we go into closed session to make a recommendation. And so my motion is that we go into closed session under pursuant to General Statute 115C-318.11A3. So we'll go in, so is there so do I have a second to that motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Chemnitz,
Ms. Camnitz?
Yes?
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Chair Blackburn.
Yes, thank you. So we'll move into closed session and to consult with our attorneys at this time.
Ms. Kamnitz, we will call you.
All right, so I should close myself out of Teams?
Yes.
Okay.
Y'all can stay if you'd like.
say we move back into open session, so that would be the next day. Do we have to,
I'm on.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kamnitz. So we're back in open session. I thank everyone for their participation. We will now ask for a motion for a recommendation.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hall.
I call for a motion to recommend to the State Board of Education that it uphold the March 11, 2024 decision of the Charter Schools Review Board to deny the Ridgeview Charter Schools request to renew its charter, which ends on June 30th, 2024, and to adopt the proposed findings of fact submitted by the Office of Charter Schools on behalf of the Review Board as the basis for this panel's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Kamnitz. Mr. Fafario, will you take the vote, please?
Ms. Kamnitz,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Chair Blackburn.
Yes. So the recommendation will be made to the state board. So we will bring this up for discussion tomorrow, and a final decision will be made April 4th, 2024, of which y'all can live stream and follow us on the board portal. I'll now ask for a motion to adjourn. Ms.
So
Kamnitz?
moved.
Yes, motion to adjourn. Mr. Hall made the motion. Ms. Kamnitz, you second.
Yes.
Ms. Kamnitz,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Chair Blackburn.
Yes. We stand adjourned.